Hey everyone. Hey, welcome to this great live chat as part of our spotlight on entrepreneurs who are building lighthouses and have so many important and wonderful things to share with us as we're on this journey. I'm so excited that you could join us today because I've invited my friend Andrea Glazier here to tell us a bit about her journey. We're going to chat about what it means to be a trailblazer and to hear the call and to take a leap of faith and think about your purpose as being something maybe bigger than you once thought that it could be. And I know that this is just such a big part of the journey that each of us is on, how we see ourselves and what is our purpose and how do we take that leap of faith and step into that and let things unfold and all of that really scary stuff. And that's why I'm so excited to have Andrea here, because as you'll see, she's just the most vibrant, sparkly soul, and I love chatting with her about this stuff. So thank you so much for coming with us today, Andrea. Will you just introduce yourself for everybody listening and they get an idea of where you're at and where you've been so far?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I absolutely loved that introduction. While you were saying that, my whole body was like doing that thing where I get little spirit tingles and little shivers really around and down me. So it's a very fascinating journey that I'm sharing with you today. And the reason I'm fascinated by my own story is because I'm embarking on an adventure that it feels as if I have been building up for my entire life to get to this point. And I'm really curious myself to see how it's going to pan out, because this is me taking a huge leap of faith, doing something very exciting and big, and I've got no idea how it's going to turn out. So it is exciting. So I'm just going to step back around something you said, which is, I feel like, really big for me at the moment, and maybe a big for your people as well. And that is, who are we? And I know we can go down a rabbit hole with that, but who am I? For years, I was working in the media. So if you ask me who am I, I'd be like, well, I'm a TV presenter, or I'm a TV producer, or I've got that label. And then at the end of my career in the media, when I was burned out, who was I then? Well, I was a burned out media professional. Right? Then I went on a healing journey, and I trained to become a health coach, even though my intuition said probably wasn't going to be a health coach. I was attracted to that. And also, because I was poorly in bed, because I was exhausted and burned out, I was online. And suddenly I was like, wow, all these coaches, all these amazing women who've got these lives and businesses that they're creating themselves, you see. And I was, I was, this was back in 2011 or what have you. And I've been so focused on the media, I hadn't seen that this whole internet world had exploded and people were being entrepreneurial. And so there I was in my sick bed going, oh, wow, that looks good. I want to go over there. I want to try that out. So I tried. So then who was I? Well, I was training to be an IIN health coach. Then at the end of that, I joined B School, which for anybody who has not heard of that, it's like Marie Forleo's entrepreneurial thing. And I was meeting all these entrepreneurial women, and I would go to these networking dues, and they would be like, well, who are you? And I'd go I don't know, I worked in the media for loads of years, I've trained as a health coach, but really I'm big about the environment and what we're doing to Mother Earth. And all people could ever hear me say was, you do video? I was like, well, yeah, I guess so. Can you help me with my videos? Well, okay, I guess I can. So then I created a business, an entrepreneurial business based around video. So I created a business called Shine On Video. I created a very successful program called Video Fame Academy. how to basically transform themselves into video stars. So how to present, how to script, how to shoot, how to edit. It was hugely successful. So people would say, well, who are you? And I'd be like, well, I'm an entrepreneur. You know, I've got my own business, Shine on Video, and I transform female entrepreneurs into video stars. Okay, I knew who I was, and it sounded good. Yeah. It was great. Yeah. Everybody wanted to know me. You know, it was like, oh, you can help me with video. You can help me with video. Brilliant. Excellent. This one over here helps. So all of that, but then something happened. So what happened? Well, I did Video Fame Academy. I got, and it was hugely successful, but there was a piece of me that really fell out of love with this whole online entrepreneurial space. And it was around Christmas time, and there was just so much traffic, all 6 figures, 7 figures, sell, pushy, and all these awful strategies. And I was thinking, you know what? I didn't come into this business to feel I have to sell out who I am in order to make money and create some kind of flashy looking business. You know, get some like over the top OTT brand photos done or so. Oh yeah, just build some kind of crappy lie, sell in order to be. That's not what I came into this for. So anyway, I had a bit of a tanty. I threw my toys out of the pram. I wrote a big long rant on New Year's Day, going, "Oh, this isn't why I joined this. This isn't what I'm about." And then I was like cast into the wilderness there for 3 months. Where I was searching, where is my purpose? Where are you hiding? Are you under a rock somewhere? So anyway, I did all this like work on myself. You know, I was like finding purpose coaches. Yes, there are such things, people who help you find your purpose. I found my truth finder. I did guided visualizations. I did all sorts of crazy stuff. And I also found my shadow as well, and the things that I was like, whoa, I don't want to do, you know, the things that I didn't like. I went on this big journey, and then I realized that I needed to jump out of the woo-woo closet. Now, that sounds a bit bonkers, but for me, it was like, it was what I needed to do. I was like, you know, I realized this is the catch, this is the key. When I think about it now, right? I was doing these guided visualizations where I was going into future me's. And I met a future me, okay? And she was amazing. I loved her, right? She was like this warrior woman, but she was like in her 80s. She looked like one of these kind of shamanic, crazy medicine women, okay? She had like wild hair. She had like beads and feathers in it, you know? And she was like she was on her saving the world mission, and she was a messenger, and everybody was listening to her. But she was like about 85, maybe 90, okay? And there seemed to be this like massive chasm between me and this person. And I realized that what I was doing was I kept putting it off. Like, I'm not yet good enough to be a spiritual teacher. I don't know enough. It's only when I'm 85 or 90 that I'm going to feel enough to be that person. And I realized I just kept putting it off. Like, I wasn't giving myself enough credit to step into actually being some kind of spiritual teacher. Because actually, back in my 20s, when I look at all my own spiritual journey, my numerology, I was told, well, you're going to be like a spiritual communicator. And as I look back when I was on my journey and I began to touch base with myself, I could see it there, but I wasn't going to own that, because I didn't feel spiritual enough. I didn't feel I knew enough or big enough or whatever. I felt like I could only be that person when I was like 85. And so I realized I just had to go, no, I am it. I have to claim it. I have to actually claim that part of myself. Jump out of the woo-woo closet and say, I'm woo-woo. Whatever that means, okay? I'm woo! And so I did. I did this big do-do-do-do. I made a big fanfare all about it. I made like some beautiful little graphics of me jumping up and down, all brightly colorful. I connected with my purpose, and I said, my purpose is that I help you shine in the truth of who you are in all your Technicolor glory. And I'm bursting out of this woo-woo closet. I was like, right, I'm doing it. And then it was like the universe said, she's ready. She's ready. She's acted and she's ready. And then the next thing, I get this program drop in. So I receive a program, I channel a program. I'm like, and it was like, I remember because my honey was in Miami. He'd gone off for a week or 10 days, the dance music conference. And I had the place to myself. It was like brilliant. I know it sounds terrible to think, my honey's gone away, but I had the whole space to myself, Anyway, so I'm like getting downloads at like 10:30 at night, going, oh my God, typing it all down. I got this program, it's called Coming Full Circle. And it's like a crush between that and Video Fame Academy. A long story short version was I channeled a blinking program with a different avatar, and it was way more spiritual. Still had some video in it, but way more spiritual. And I did this thing. I did this program. I'm just in the last week of it now. And the voice, because I'm actually hearing, this is bonkers, I'm hearing a voice and dictating it. So I'm like, I'm typing into my computer as the voice is coming in, and I'm asking it questions. So I'm having a 2-way conversation with the voice, which is very freaky. But the voice says to me, you'll find out what you're doing next during this program. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, how exciting. Because my honey, he's like money minded. He's like, so you're doing this program. This sounds really good. So you're going to do this again? Are you going to do this again? Are you going to do like this 3 times a year now? And you're going to make your money like that? Is that how it's going to work, Andrea? And I'm kind of like, because, it looks good. People are liking it. So you're going to do this again. Is this now your new business, Andrea? Well, I don't know, because I don't know, because the voice said I'd find out what I was going to do next. So I don't know, honey. I don't know. We'll just see what happens. Let's just see one thing at a time, honey. One thing at a time. You're getting So no, the voice. So then, right, we're on this journey. This is just in the last month. The voice starts giving me like. And not just hearing things, I'm seeing things, I'm getting images, I'm getting like pieces of information, and also people in my group and in my circle also receiving pieces of information for me, because they're stepping into their own intuition and their own gifts. And so within this circle, it's kind of like everyone's an oracle. So we're having these crazy supercharged conversations. And during this month, I go through some kind of weird ascension process. Look, I don't have the language for it. It's all totally bonkers to me. Seriously, things come into my head and I'm like, you what? Third eye activation, ascension and awakening? Okay. All I know is that I had a bath, and I came out of the bath, I recalibrated, and my body was as tall as a skyscraper. And I'm like, who am I now? Who am I now? So all of this bonkers stuff has been going on. Okay, and I get flashes. I had a flash that I was like the Marconi Tower. So the Marconi Tower, for anybody who's into radio, I'm a bit of a geek because obviously I come from broadcasting. But basically, Marconi was the guy that invented like these radio signals and stuff. So when you think of a Marconi Tower, he was the first person who put these little towers, like lighthouses, weirdly enough, right? Little Marconi towers, and they act as, they send the transmitter, the signals from one to another. And so this is in England where I used to live. This is where he was doing these experiments. So he puts these Marconi towers up a few hundred miles away from each other, and he sends the first radio signals. And I'm getting these images dropping in, and this voice is telling me that I am like the Marconi Tower, and that essentially soon I'm going to be channeling some other weird stuff. And that I'm going to be like receiving stuff to share, right? So then I get shown, though, that I'm going to be like Russell Brand, okay? And the thing is with Russell Brand, he's like Marmite. You either love him or you hate him, right? And so I'm being shown that the people that love me, but the people that hate me really can't stand me.
Well, I always say you're not going to get anywhere by being bland. So I think that's a good
Well, no.
goal to have,
You know,
right?
it's right. Yeah, exactly. And so this whole thing, this whole program that I'm doing is about becoming more visible. Okay. And so I realized that the work that I've been doing on myself this last month has been clearing all of the wounds that are getting in the way or have been getting in the way of me being visible, standing and being that bright, shiny person, and having the confidence to share my message and do all of the things that I'm doing now with you. But a month or 2 months ago, I would not have had the confidence, you see, to do. Now, where does it come back to? It comes back to this: what am I actually doing? So basically, I had to run this one past the honey, and that was an interesting conversation. I'll tell you about that in a minute, right? So I'm going off to England, and I'm going off to walk the land. I'm going to do a pilgrimage around sacred sites, okay? This, I don't know how this is tied in with the business. It doesn't feel like it's any kind of business at all. Maybe in the future I'm going to be like a tour guide for pilgrim sites. I'm not sure. Who knows, right? So I'm going around these sacred sites, and I'm going to be dowsing earth energy. And in fact, I might show you my dowsing ones. I'll just quickly show you these. So I'm going to be dowsing these earth energy sites, right? Now, there is a deeper purpose to what I'm doing, but I don't know what it is. It's something to do with earth energy. Can you see these? These are little dowsing ones. Something to do with earth energy, something to do with ascension and healing the planet. I don't know. All over, goes over my head. But I have been told, or the signs have been showing me, and I've been getting these flashes of inspiration, that I'm going to be broadcasting my story and my travels live using technology. And that I'm going to be channeling, receiving messages, and I'm going to be sharing with them, sharing these messages as I go around these sacred sites, you see. And I was told I've got to, go there now. I've got to book a ticket. I'm going to Stonehenge, and I need to get there for the solstice, which is the 21st of June. And this is the thing, right? I had to buy a ticket, and I don't mind admitting to you that because I hadn't worked for 3 months, when the money came in for my program, where did the money go? It went on paying off for the credit card. It went on paying back my honey, all of that kind of stuff. So by the time actually I had received all the money in for the program, it had all disappeared. And I had no money to buy a ticket. And I'm thinking to myself, well, it's all very nice. Sure, who doesn't want to go on holiday? Who doesn't want to go on holiday to England and go around sacred sites? But this trip's going to cost me thousands of dollars, and I haven't got it. I've just paid off my credit card, and to be perfectly honest, I don't feel like I want to be, paying for this kind of thing on my credit card. Like, really? Do I have to keep, I'm always going to be in that cycle of having, do you know what I mean? I don't want to do that. So the voice is saying to me, just don't worry about it. Stop worrying about the money. Just act as if you're going to get some inheritance. Don't worry about it. Just you focus on that. Don't you be worrying about that. Act as if. Act as if what? I'm like, act as if what? Act as if you've got a book deal. You what? Yeah, act as if you've got a book deal. You're going to do Eat, Love, Pray. You're going to get like your own Eat, Love, Pray book deal. Really? All right. So I did get some inheritance. It wasn't a huge amount of money, enough money to buy a very cheap one-way ticket via a 20-hour stopover in Manila. It was the cheapest end of the market, just a few $100 one way. My honey Steve's like, so when are you coming back, honey? Honey, I'm coming back when I've got the book deal. How long do you need? Give me a couple of months. Right, so I'm now off to England. I've booked my ticket. I leave just in a couple of weeks. I don't know what's going to happen, okay? I haven't got the book deal yet. I've paid for my ticket. It's going to be I'm going to be living by the seat of my pants. I mean, all of this had better pan out, because otherwise I'm going to be sitting in a field somewhere scratching my arse and going, now what? Now what? I'm here. Where is the Marconi Tower? It doesn't seem to be working.
Oh, there's so many things about this, so many things about the story, and I think that is a really good one to touch on. That leap of faith. You've had to take such a huge leap of faith and just trust that this is the direction that you're meant to explore.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the conversation with the honey was the big one, really. You know, I mean, in terms of me taking a leap of faith, and this is something I want to share with you, actually, it's really interesting. But taking leaps of faith, that whole massive jumping off the cliff, okay, in that free fall, because that's what it is. It's like, okay, there's the edge of the cliff. What you're asking me to do now is jump, and I'm having to trust that you're going to catch me with that safety net, and everything's going to be fine. But I don't know, right? Mm-hmm. Is that the more you do it, the more you can have faith that you're going to be absolutely fine. It's like a muscle. It's like a muscle you build. And so my mind goes back to all the other times I've had to take a leap of faith, because it's not like the first, it's just the biggest, it's the craziest. My mind goes back to the other times I've had to take a leap of faith. And I see, oh, wow, you know, things don't always turn out as I've expected at all, whatever, well, hardly ever. But, you know, it's always been an amazing adventure. And what the hell I've got nothing to lose. I've got only everything to gain. You know, I don't feel like I've got anything to lose. You know, like my whole life has been building up to this. It's just now about having the lady balls to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's such a good piece of gold. The time you've done it, and it's been okay. You know, same with vulnerability. We can look back on those times and think about those moments where we just took that leap, and we can see what happened, and it helps you to build trust in the current space, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the new piece, though. The new piece was coming in, which was new to me, which was this message, act as if. And I was like, wow.
Love that.
Yeah, me too. I was like, because I've taken leaps of faith before, but I've taken them with a head of mental chatter that was, you know, when I think back to another kind of big leap of faith I had to take. And I remember I was sitting on a tube train in London, leaving for New Zealand, and my mind was taking me through all the ways that I could die and all the awful things that could happen to me on my journey. Okay, right? You know, and I remember the only reason being is because I looked back through some of my journals and I found the journal entry of me literally on the tube train, going through all the ways that this could end horribly, right? And this time I'm not doing that. I'm like, whatever, any of that crap comes in, I'm like, yeah, whatever. And my worst fear of all is poor old like Russell Brand, and how he gets completely, the people that hate him, how they always are just like dissing him and being really awful. And for me, that's like my worst fear, that there's going to be this huge contingent online. It's going to be like, you know, pulling everything apart that I said. So that's my worst fear. It's my reputation, how others judge me, what people think of me. And I'm still like, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. And I think that's probably just something that you're meant to just deal with as part of this journey. If that's your biggest fear, and something will happen, and someone will say they don't like you, and then you're going to be okay. Right?
Yeah.
You're going to be okay when that happens.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, exactly that. I don't think I'm going to, you know, realistically, I'm not likely that I'm going to end up like murdered in a field. The worst thing I believe that happened to me is that people will be like, she's really irritating, shut her up. She just speaks so much shit. You know,
well, I always say that you don't do any good if you're not pissing someone off, because that just means you're blind.
Yeah, it's so true. You've got to, what is it? You've got to polarize to mesmerize.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
That's what I keep telling myself when I'm like inside, I'm going, that person doesn't like me. Don't worry, Andrea. You have to polarize to mesmerize. Not everyone's going to like you. But yeah, act as if I've got the book deal. So now it's a joke with my honey. So let me just quickly share with you the conversation, because people say like, well, is your honey going with you? And I'm like, no, he's not going with me. And you haven't bought a return ticket? Well, no, I haven't. So we had this walk along the beach, and I had to say, so honey, when you were away in Miami, something strange happened. I started hearing a voice in my head telling me to do things. Now, so far, everything's been really good. So the voice told me to run that program, and that program's gone really successfully. So are you running that program again then? Well, no, because the voice said to pay attention and that I would find out what next to do when I was doing the program. And now the voice is telling me to go to Cornwall, honey. Telling me to go to sacred sites. How are you going to pay for this? Well, the voice has told me not to worry about it and that I'll probably come into some inheritance. You can see how this conversation went, right? It was a very strange conversation. Okay. Well, and I knew, and I said, and the voice also told me, just to let you know that I will be making all the usual outgoings while I am away. So you don't have to worry. All of the money that you'll be getting the money. So just to let you know that, the voice said that would be okay. You would receive that money. Okay, then. When are you coming back? Well, I don't know exactly. Probably when I get a book deal, and this was the sweetener that I threw in. So what I'm thinking is that rather than just flying all the way back, maybe we could meet in Asia and have a nice little holiday in like Thailand or something, meet halfway. Now, bearing in mind, it is, what day is it? Sorry, I'm just going to quick check. What day are we on?
27th?
May the 27th. It's May the 27th, right? My ticket is booked for June I've timed it all with the new moon. So it's around June 16, 17, something like that. I've got another week left on my program where I'm helping my people. And then I've got a couple of weeks to get my shizzle together. And then I'm on a plane with bugger all in my pocket. Some weird metal rods. And a rucksack with a flask, right? Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows?
Honestly, I just love talking to you because it's like the whole room is lit up with your excitement.
I am.
You know what I think is so cool about what you've been doing, and we talked about this before, is you don't have a plan, you have a website, and you don't even know what's going to happen, but you've been sharing your story on social media, and you've had really profound engagement around sharing your stories and your photos. And I just feel like it's such a great example that you don't have to have all the ducks in a row and you don't have to have a 5-year plan. But when you share your stories, when you're moved by your own message.
Yeah, in fact, actually, that's
amazing things are happening.
Yeah, actually, that's something that is a really interesting one about allowing, being a storyteller and sharing your message, like allowing the story to come through you, if that makes sense, allowing the message to come through you. I feel that my success over the last few months has always been when I have literally stepped out of my own way and allowed a greater part of myself to drive me. Okay, so a greater part of myself to drive my creativity, or a greater part of myself to drive my writing, rather than being locked in the head. Yeah, and sort of kind of I'm already making that face because it already hurts me. I'm getting into must write some marketing copy. Oh my God, that just feels awful. For me, it's allowing myself to step out of my own way and just write. Just see what do I want to say? What do I want to say? What am I feeling? You know, follow the creative impulse. Follow that creative impulse and just allow it to come through. You know, I really feel like any exercises that can help you shift out of your own way so that you can really get into your truth, that's really key for me. Finding ways to get into your truth. Yeah, and tap into that flow. And storytelling is a huge part of it, actually, really a big part of it, and something that I feel for me personally is where I'm shifting into. It's much more now for me about being a messenger and sharing through stories. Because interestingly, you know, humans are hardwired to respond to story. We love stories. And it's such a beautiful way of being able to communicate what's going on. You know, there's so many stories that we can share. We've got our everyday stories. We've got the story about why we're in business. We've got our turning point stories. And they're the things that, you know, a gifted storyteller enables someone to kind of feel what it's like to kind of be you, or you know, you can create connections with people because people remember what it feels like. It's a very feeling kind of experience. You create real connections with people through storytelling. I love storytelling.
Yeah. One of the stories that we've talked a bit about in our conversations is the idea of the hero's journey. Will you tell us about that?
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so so the hero's journey is you can Google this, you can find out heaps of stuff about the hero's journey, okay? Basically, just to kind of give you an abbreviated version, the hero's journey is the quest. And it is the basis for pretty much every single book and every single film, right? Every Hollywood blockbuster is based upon the hero's journey. And I believe it was Joseph Campbell who wrote all about the hero's journey. So Google him and you'll see what happens is the hero is like in his everyday ordinary world, you know, just plodding along, dun, 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 and then suddenly something happens. He hears the call. You know, there is something to respond to, something to fix, something to do. So this would be like any kind of superhero where they're kind of like an ordinary person wearing their ordinary clothes, and suddenly there's some baddies that have done something awful. And so the superhero needs to suddenly turn into the superhero and then go and fight the baddies, okay? Whatever it is. Little Miss Sunshine is another classic example of if you've seen that film, completely different. There, the hero is that cute little girl who wants to, she's a tiny wee thing, maybe 7 years old, and she wants to dance in like a beauty pageant. She's the hero, and that's the thing. And her entire family take a road trip across California in a beaten up old VW yellow camper van in order to take her to the beauty pageant where she's going to dance, okay? So there's some sort of journey, there's some sort of quest that happens, whatever that is, and along the way, the hero will get tested, right? So part of the journey, but they will, at some point, you know, have to face their final dragon. They will slay their dragon, and then they will be victorious, right? So the hero goes on this quest, and at the end, they're going to be victorious. And what it is, and usually and often, sometimes it's a literal thing. They find the treasure. Okay. Oh, look, I've now found some treasure, and I'm going to live happily ever after with my big box of treasure. Or the treasure that they find is actually like a spiritual understanding, okay, that they've come to in themselves. But the thing is they get to share this treasure. Right? That's the beauty. You get to share this treasure with the world. And so each of us, what I love so much about the hero's quest is that each of us, all of us, we're always on our own hero's quest. We're always on our own hero's journey, all of us. And we've got simultaneous journeys going on all the time. We're learning new stuff all the time. And you know how it is when you've gone through something, you've been the hero, you've had to slay some dragons. And then at the end, you're like, wow, I've come to this insight, this realization, this aha moment. And now I've got something awesome to share with my tribe and my people, right? And that's the gold. That's what they call the elixir. That's the elixir that you share. And everybody was like, oh, wow, you've shared, now you're sharing it with your community. And it's really a metaphor for life as well. Because, you know, I've struggled with all sorts of things in my life. I've struggled with addictions. I've struggled with my weight. I've struggled with my money. I've struggled with love and relationships. And all of those have been hero's journey. And at some point, like for years, I was really messed up with men. Terrible. Okay. Now I'm really good. Hey, if you want dating advice, I can give you really good dating advice, right? All right. It took me a long time before I became the hero of that journey. Now I'm like, yeah, you know, you're a dater. I've got advice for you. So the point being is that we go through this often we can go through these tough times in life where we feel like life is a constant trial, like one trial after another challenge. Don't worry about it. What you've got to do is you've got to step outside of yourself and see yourself as the hero, and then go, oh, I see. I'm just the hero on my quest. Got it. Okay, now I just see that this is just that I'm just a hero on a quest. And once I get over these trials and tribulations, once I have slayed this dragon, I'm going to stand there victorious, and I'm going to be able to share my elixir with my community. And it will probably end up being your book, your film, Love Pray. So for me, I am doing the archetypal, literally, hero's quest, where I heard the call. I was, literally, heard the call. I like, you are going to Cornwall. You are going to do some weird stuff that it sounds totally bonkers. You are going to take some metal rods. You are going to receive some spiritual help from spiritual teachers in animal and human form. Yes, because I ate a snake, but that's another story. Don't even ask about that. I ate a snake. Okay, that's my animal totem for this. So I've now got like snake energy in me. So I'm going to, anyway, right? So I've got supernatural help. Okay, because a true hero needs supernatural help, really, right? So I'm a hero on a supernatural quest, going around Cornwall, and of course I'm going to have trials and tribulations. I'm going to meet dragons. I am literally going to meet dragons because there's dragons in the land, right? And I'm going to have to pass through supernatural dragon gates. Don't ask. It's just totally trippy. I can't get my head around it, but literally it's that, right? So I'm going to be slaying dragons. I've eaten a snake. It's all going to be fine. And then it's going to end up with a book deal in my only Eat, Love, Pray. And Drew Barrymore is going to play me in the film.
Perfect.
So,
we'll be watching.
Yeah, Drew Barrymore. That's how it's got now. I'm acting as if it's got to the point where literally I'm now, Drew Barrymore. I want her to play me.
That's so cool. I love act as if. I'm gonna put that on my wall behind me. Remember that. That is amazing.
Because the thing is that go on.
No, you go.
I was going to say every time in the past, not every time, but I've been building this muscle now. The leap of faith muscle. And in the past, where I've taken smaller leaps of faith, like just smaller ones, but they felt big at the time, because it has. Every leap is jumping out of your comfort zone. So it does feel big, right? But often my mind has been playing games with me where I have been so caught up on the negative side of what if, rather than acting as if it's going to be awesome. And so I feel for me that piece is, as I said, it's new and it's a shift. And it feels really exciting for me that, because I could be having a very different conversation with you. I could be having a very different conversation going, yeah, so, you know, I've received this kind of guidance, but, you know, it just feels so big and I don't know what to do about it and I haven't got the money. And yeah, I just don't think I'm going to do it. Yeah. I could be doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what so many people are doing right now. That's why I want them to hear your story. You're such an amazing example of hearing that call and taking the leap of faith in a really bold way that a lot of people don't give themselves permission to do.
Yeah. And what's fascinating is getting it past my honey. Because, you know, it's a bit way out. My honey's not way out. And I was like, we had to have a little bit of a conversation around this as well. Because like before he went to Miami, I was, yeah, sure, I was a little bonkers, what have you. But I wasn't anywhere near as bonkers as I've got. Okay. I was pretty, you know, I was probably what you'd call on the creative side, but I wasn't off the dial, okay? But he came back to find her honey who's hearing voices and stuff, and who's, you know, a voice telling her to go off to Cornwall. He works in banking, you know what I mean? He's not. And so I said, I'm just kind of curious. Yeah, you know, are you all right with this? Are you good with this? I was like, he says, well, you know, I respect people's religions. Okay, thanks.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's how he's rationalized it. It's, you know, because I was saying to him, it was a bit awkward. I was like, because I was telling him at this was the point where I'd done some guided visualization, and I had met my mentor who's passed over, who said, I'm going to be mentoring you, even though he's passed over to the other side. And I received an animal totem, and it was a snake, and then I ate it. And so I'm telling him this, and you can see he's a bit like, and I said, he was like, oh, yeah, I just respect people's religions.
Oh, bless him. You know what I think is cool about that story is that you took that leap of faith and you shared who you were, and it didn't have catastrophic consequences. It was like, okay, honey.
Yeah, I shared the truth. I mean, that's the thing. I shared, do you know what? Because I don't know about you, but for a long time, in different parts of my life, I felt like I was having to be in these boxes, okay, and be what other people wanted me to be, right? And it was tiring, having to wear these masks, you know? And that's a little bit what I felt like at the beginning of the year when I threw my toys out of the pram. Again, where I felt I was being kind of herded into, again, someone else's idea of who I needed to be in order to succeed. I was like, no, no, that's not why I'm in business. That's not what I stand for. That's not what I'm about, right? And it's interesting because, as we know, I don't have a website. What's fascinating is I might get one off the ground before I go. I've got a couple of weeks, who knows? Much more exciting for me will actually be making a video and creating maybe some kind of Facebook group where I can like post my adventures for people who want to join in and play. You know, whether or not I get a website up, yeah, whatever. I guess my point being is that you can find your own way. You really can, you know, you can listen to your own guidance, listen to your message, do things your own way, and not get sucked into the magic bullet of having to do things a certain way. Sure, brilliant. I'm glad that it worked for you doing it like that. That's awesome. And actually, I'm glad that I can look at what you did and I can tune in with me and see, does that feel like a good fit? Oh, it doesn't. Great. I'll move on then. You know, having a sense of discretion over how you do things, and seeing that actually, yeah, for me, storytelling, you know what it was? It was a piece that fell in for me. It was a piece that fell in just a couple of months ago when I jumped out of the wee closet, right? I did some guided visualization at a lovely workshop that I went to. And I really allowed myself just to drop into this meditative state here. And it was another one of those sorts of ones where you're invited to ask a question and then sort of journal the answer. And the question was, it was quite a deep one. It was like, you know, what's my purpose? That was the question. You know what came out for me? This actually was the piece that changed everything for me. The voice that I heard said, my purpose is to smile. My purpose is to talk, because people like listening to me talk. And my purpose is to be warm and bring my energy. I kid you not, when I heard that was my purpose, when it was simply a question of smiling and talking, I was like, I'm going to swear now, I was like, are you shitting me? How have you been? I don't know how much money I've spent doing so many blinking workshops, speaking to all of these people, doing all of this stuff. And you're telling me it's simply a question of smiling and talking? Really?
That's awesome.
Okay, it's that simple. Sometimes I think, I'll speak for myself, talk about trying to overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
Where's my purpose? What is it? Yeah. It's a question of literally my purpose in life at the moment seems to be smiling and talking. So thank you for inviting me to smile and talk and share my energy.
Oh, you are welcome. One of the things you said earlier about purpose, and I thought this was really special, was helping people to see their unique light, that they're here to shine. And of course, that's such a big message. So many things we talked about are illuminate. But that, I think, is really powerful. And what I think is the most powerful is that you're giving yourself permission to do the same. And in doing so, other people will be able to as well.
Absolutely. That's the deeper purpose of what I do is, yeah, absolutely. I help people shine in the truth of who they are. All their technical glory. Because that's what I allow myself to do in standing in the truth of who I am, no matter whether people think I'm batshit crazy or what have you, the fact that I don't have a website or whatever unconventional stuff that I'm doing. You know, being in my truth, shining in technicolor glory.
And smiling.
You know, because lighthouses, the fascinating thing about lighthouses, and I know we've discussed this before, and in fact, there was a very strong image that I had just around this time around March 20th, you know, with those eclipses, we had this crazy eclipse time, was that this feeling like the grid had gone on. The grid had gone on, and I saw these lighthouses, literally the grid, right? Grid going around planet Earth of these lighthouses. You feeling it? Putting these lighthouses on, and these lighthouses now seeing each other, right? And I tell you what, since then, I honestly, the whole world has shifted for me. It feels like a different planet. It actually feels like, I know this is woo-woo and words that I'm not 100% sure even what I'm talking about, right? Because this isn't my natural domain. But it feels like we've gone through some sort of massive shift, right? And that actually there is a lot of light workers now going, oh, guess what? I put my light on. Woohoo, woohoo, over here. Woohoo. And there are people who you would not expect coming out with beautiful messages, right? So I'll give you an example of that, because we're coming, you know, in my space, we're coming, well, for most of the people I know are actually just female entrepreneurs, but female entrepreneurs, okay? That's my space, that's my zone. But actually, if you look out now into other fields, I saw a boxer or a fighter of some description, right? And usually when they go into the ring, they're very nationalistic, and they carry their patriotic flag of their country, right? And everyone's like, "Whoa, brilliant," you know, Aussie fighter or what have you. I just seen a picture online of this fighter, wherever he was, with a flag saying, "We are all one."
Wow.
Yeah. Right? So there's someone here who's a real messenger, a real light worker, who's actually in the you know, martial arts fighting scene. I saw again, and again, outside of my zone, you know, the female entrepreneur scene, what have you, again, a young rapper. He's had 61 million views for his rap, Sorry, which is all about what we're doing to trees.
Wow.
61 million views. And speaking to the younger generation about how the fact that we're chopping down trees for money. Right, and so there are these extraordinary people now who are standing in the truth of who they are with a message, being leaders, being lighthouses, right? There's a huge shift happening, a huge shift happening. And in fact, I hate to say it, but actually, I feel that if you have got that, if you are receiving whatever you're receiving and you're not acting on it, then someone else is going to be. And I don't mean to bring competition into this, but literally you have an opportunity to be a leader. If you're receiving guidance and you're not acting on it, look at what your block is and see if you can shift through it, because it's really exciting. It's an exciting time to be a lighthouse, to step up and switch on your light, because in actual fact, there has never been a better time to switch it on, because back in I'm going off on one here, back in early 2000s, when I worked in TV and I was into new age stuff, right? I was like the fish out of water, okay? I got absolutely, and I remember now my poor little stomach, it hurts. People called me flaky. You know, people told me that I needed, basically, that, you know, I was going to, my career was going to end because I was way too flaky and way out with all these spiritual ideas. I felt like a fish out of water, like no one understood me. And now I feel like actually the tide has changed. People are actually open. People are exploring this. People are ready. Their minds are ready. They're open to this information. And there's been a huge shift in the last 10 or 15 years. And so it's actually, we're living in this amazing time where people are open to this information. It's amazing.
And I think an important thing too is that I know some of the people that I've talked with, it doesn't even have to be like this real big woo thing either. Sometimes it's just listening to that voice in your head, you know, that whisper, that nudge, like you're not listening to what you're really feeling called to do. Sometimes it's messages we get from other people even, that just those taps on the shoulder, you know.
Yeah, well, so I teach something called the art of noticing. Okay, so the art of noticing is about opening up to noticing your spirit talking to you, okay, and your own inner wisdom. So for me, very, very, very simple is journaling, of course. Right? Journaling is a very important part of being able to build lines of communication, to open up the lines of communication again between your own inner wisdom, you know, between your heart and your head, One of the
Yeah,
easiest
yeah.
ways to open up is through journaling. Another way is that I teach noticing walks. So a very simple one is going out into nature, and rather than knowing where you are going, choosing to take a walk. You can give yourself, I would say, at least half an hour. I'd ideally say an hour, because then you can really enjoy it. And have your mobile phone with you, what have you, and tune into beauty. Okay, so you're going to notice beauty, and you're going to let beauty be your guide, beauty and intuition. So it means that rather than having a fixed idea, okay, I'm going to walk to the park, or I'm going to go to the beach, what you're going to do is you're going to leave your house, and every time you get to a path where you've got a crossroads, you're going to tune in, and you're just going to ask yourself, right, do I go right or left? And have a look. Be open to all of your senses and see what your senses are telling you to do. You might spot something that catches your eye over there. So you'll go, all right then, well, I'll go over there. Let that guide you. Or you might just tune into your feet and just ask your feet, right, left or right? All right, I'll go left. I'm being pulled to go that way. So be curious, like just take a noticing walk, as I call them, and just notice, right? Rather than letting your head choose, go into other parts of your body, start accessing your senses, start letting beauty guide you. And then the purpose, if you need a purpose for the walk, purpose of the walk is to find something really beautiful and take a photograph of it. And so allow your eye for beauty to lead you to look at things. And then as you do, become fascinated with them and take pictures. It could be a flower, it could be bugs, it could be a beautiful sunset, it could be anything. But let beauty and intuition be your guide. And it's a wonderful way of being able to start noticing, because what happens is that I've been through a very active noticing period where literally I was getting signs coming in from every direction. So numerology, I would be like seeing all of like, triple fives. Triple five was like, holy moly, you are going to have a serious big life change, right? And then there were other noticings, like people would say things, I'd go like, oh my God, I'd feel it in my body and go, that's a message for me there, So it's kind of like, yeah, opening up to receiving this kind of level of information and then trusting it and acting upon it. Like I can share with you times where I have listened to the feeling in my body and times where I haven't, okay? A time where I haven't, I won't go into the details, a time where I haven't, the mistake I made was so bad because I literally got a red flag where my body was going, no, this is a bad idea. I got a red flag. That, because I didn't listen to my intuition, I paid for it literally for 4 years. It was a bad life. It was a bad relationship choice that left me in a very awful financial situation for 4 years, right? Okay, that was me not trusting my intuition. Another time I trusted the feeling, another relationship one, this one. Thankfully, I did listen to the warning flag, and that was to not buy a house with someone. And it turned out after I made the very tough decision to not go ahead with buying the dream property with my dream man, that I subsequently found out that he had been cheating on me. Yeah. So anyway, listening to your feelings and going with your gut feelings and all of that. Like now, you know what? If I'm honest with you, for a few years, I was so upset after the relationship one where I hadn't listened to the red flag. I felt abandoned by spirit. I felt really abandoned. I felt really let down. And so I switched off. I switched off all my spiritual kind of senses and ears. And I dived into the world of doing what people wanted me to do and living a kind of conventional life. And when did I switch it back on? Well, I suppose it's been switching back on gradually. It's been switching back on. And the more I switch back on and the more I've learned to trust it again. Yeah. the more I've received. And now I'm at this point now where I'm actually taking the biggest leap of faith. Now, I've just realized I can't hear you, which is very peculiar. Can you
hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I was trying to make the echo go away. Instead, I muted myself.
Yeah. So I don't know if that helps, but because I think an honest conversation around, intuition and all the rest of it, because I do believe that, we've all got it. We've all got intuition.
Absolutely.
We've all got that inner wisdom, that inner guidance, and it is about learning to trust it.
Yeah.
And
I like what you said about looking back at times. You can tell. Sometimes it's easier to go back and remember what those things felt like, and then use that to help you notice in the present as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I feel like there may well be someone who's watching this who's got that feeling now, and that, and to go into that feeling and maybe have the courage, the leap of faith to start trusting the feeling again.
So I wanted to ask you one more question before we say goodbye. And I know that a big theme that's come up in Illuminate is that feeling of seeing that you have a bigger purpose than you originally even thought of yourself. That the steps on your journey have taken you to this place where you're thinking, I didn't even know that could be what I'm here to do. And that's kind of frightening. Like, we talked about that fear. So anybody listening who's maybe thinking that they could step into that and be a trailblazer and explore that bigger purpose, what's one little thing that leads them?
So I would say that all of us are much more powerful than we possibly would begin to realize, and that who we think we are doesn't even touch the surface of who we are. So I remember at the beginning of our chat today, I was saying about how I identified myself as being, I was a TV presenter. Then I was a burned out media professional. Then I was a trainee health coach. Then I was a video coach, female entrepreneur, right? And I'm putting all of these labels on myself. And then I had this experience where I had a bath, I recalibrated, had some weird ascension thing happen, and then felt as tall as a skyscraper. I felt so expanded, I couldn't feel the edges of myself anymore. And that was a really weird thing. And I had this feeling like, well, who am I? Who am I? And I realized that, talk about write your own adventure, write your own book. I am anything I choose to be. I am, as well, is such a powerful phrase. And we, as I said, I got shown things, little glimpses that like blew my circuitry. Like they didn't show me much because my little brain couldn't handle the jandal. Right? It was fried. We are so big. We are powerful beyond measure. And so now I'm stepping into, well, who am I? Well, I've left a lot of things behind. Who am I now? Well, I am a messenger. I am a storyteller. I am about to be a publishing phenomena. I am about to go stratospheric. I am about to, so this is what I'm about to do, but I am about to get a film deal, right? I am so much bigger than I ever thought I was. I am now allowing myself to step into the hugest version, the skyscraper version of myself, and enjoy it. Okay, so remember, I would say to you, you can play this game yourself. You know, who you thought you were at 15 changed. Who you thought you were at 22 changed. You know, there was a time there where you may well be a mother now, where you weren't a mother, and then you were able to say the words, I am a mother, or I am a wife, or, you know, I am these things. There was a time where you didn't have your own business. Most of us don't start a business when we leave school and then go all the way through. So there was a time where you were able to, you know, so you maybe went from being, you know, I am an accountant to I am an entrepreneur. Okay. You know, who you are is constantly evolving. And if you've been given a glimpse now of who you're stepping into, wow, awesome. Chances are it's much bigger. It's much bigger than you ever thought was possible. And that's really exciting. That's where the growth is. That's where the juice is. And in fact, takes me back to, again, the beginning of the conversation, where here I was in my guided visualization, and I was seeing this awesome version of myself, but she was like 85. And she was this world-changing medicine woman, granny, you know. And I was like, wow, she seemed so far away. She seemed so far away. And I was thinking, and my little prayer used to be, you know, something, you know, around basically helping me become everything I could be. You know, praying that I could grow into the person. That was it. I used to pray that I could grow into becoming the person I needed to be to do all this great big work. And, you know, like, if you're here as part of Karen's program, Lighthouses, then you're going to be doing the most incredible work. You're going to be doing the most incredible things. Your lighthouses, you're illuminating the path for others. It blows my mind to think how you're going to evolve and how bright your lights are going to shine. We're going to see, and we can see you from outer space. And all the other lighthouses can see you. And it's just really exciting. That's how Carol and I are speaking. Because we're lighthouses and we can see each other. We're the lighthouse gang. It's really cool.
Well, thank you for that. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I need a tissue.
Yeah.
Andrea, thank you so much for coming to share your hero's journey with us. And how can we follow you?
Well, that's a really good question, actually. I've got no idea. But find me on, at the moment, I guess, find me on Facebook and Instagram.
Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram. I'm Andrea, basically on Facebook and on Instagram. Forget all of the business stuff. I've just left that behind. That's like an old me. That's old Andrea version 0.3.2. I'm now on Andrea 0.7.9. Right? And so to keep up with Andrea 7.9, it's really old school. It's really basic. I've got an Instagram account, which is andrea.louisa.glazier. And again, I'm on Facebook just as a normal, regular person as Andrea Louisa Glazier. So if you're interested in following the journey and seeing pretty pictures of crazy things like little jewel bugs and nice sunsets and clouds that smile and rainbows, that's the kind of crazy stuff that I do.
That reminds me, when we were talking about how you have been sharing your stories, and one of the things you've been sharing are these photos, and again, the idea of noticing beauty and following the beauty, and you've been sharing these amazing photos, and tell us who followed your photos.
Oh, yeah! Okay, so I've got, all right, so again, right, this was one of these little downloads that I got a while ago when I was really upset, when I was in my 3 months in the wilderness, when I wasn't earning any money, okay, and I was like, what's my purpose? And all I could think about was, the only piece that I was getting at that point was in praise of nature, and it's this photo, it's a photo thing on Instagram, and it was me posting up a photo every day And the whole intention, even though people don't know it, the intention of that as a 3-line tag word, a 3-tag, whatever it is, which is see it, savor it. And then I was never too sure whether it was celebrate it or save it. Or kind of both of them. The whole point is we've got this beautiful planet and we need to save it and we need to celebrate it. And we need to realize what we have. It's beautiful in praise of nature. And so this was like this deep appreciation of nature where I would show, and I'll just quickly show you a photograph, where I would every day post up a picture, right? So I'm just going around my thing. I'm not doing any of that kind of weird, crazy stuff where you try and get heaps of followers or anything like that. So here I am. I've got, I don't know if you can see that. No, not really. I've got 252 followers and I'm following 235 people. I've now done 94 posts. That's pretty much one a day. So I've now done a quarter of a year. And, you know, I'm just posting away, just doing my little thing, praising nature. Who should discover one of my posts? Eckhart Tolle. The Power of Now, the author of The Powerful Now, you know, like a spiritual guru teacher, like one of the 5 spiritual teachers in the world or something, that happens to discover a little post of mine and likes it. So as I'm going through my Instagram, I'm just like, oh, look, you know, a few likes, Eckhart Tolle. And I'm like, really? The Eckhart Tolle? So when I click on it and I go through to his profile to look, you know, anyone can call themselves Eckhart Tolle. Yeah. Go on the profile to look, 35,000 followers, and only 2 people that he's friends with. One of them is Oprah. I'm like, okay, I think that's Eckhart Tolle. I think Eckhart Tolle's like one of my photos, right? So anyway, I stick it up on, you know, Facebook, and I was like, far out, Eckhart Tolle like one of my photos. And then I go around my business. So I'm just carrying on doing my business for the next couple of weeks, just posting a pic every day. Pick up the phone again. Go through my likes. I look, Eckhart Tolle. It's like to second one of my photos. I'm like, shut the door.
That is so awesome.
How did he find me the first time, let alone the second time?
That is cool.
Oh no. So my friend who's like into all of this stuff, like she's way further down the garden path of nuttiness than I am. She's like, it's all to do with the vibration that you're sending out, Andrea. It's all to do with the vibration. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't know. We're talking about your crackpot, you are. I'm not crackers, but you are. Vibration.
You know what? It's an amazing example of how you can share your story and break all the rules and not have the website and not have the 5-year plan. Be noticed by somebody and amazing. Yeah. To me, it's just a sign, you know, that anything is possible. Anything.
Well, that's it. Look, what's going to be strange, and this is why I'm excited about my journey, and which is why I'd love to invite you along, because I'm going to be broadcasting. I'm going to be broadcasting live from these sacred sites, and I'm going to be live. All right, there's a whole layer of excitement there. I'm going to be sharing live what is happening, so you're going to be able to see real time my adventure unfolding in a live and interactive way. Right? Being noticed and discovered by whoever is going to happen. I know. I mean, okay, without expectation. No, I'm not just. Maybe I am going to go in there and I'm just going to wait in a field with these, and nothing is going to happen. There is that. Okay, there is that possibility. I'm just going to be like, filling my farms, nothing's happening. Okay, be a bit bloody weird. Like, well, I would have got all of this message to just sit there and be like, okay. But anyway, I don't know who's going to discover me, what's going to happen, but I know if, and I don't know because I'm acting as if, right? I'm acting as if, okay, that, I mean, you know, acting as if, I'm going to get discovered by someone or something. And that's going to be amazing. And, you know, it's going to feel, and this was the sense that I got, I just want to share this with you actually. It's going to feel like overnight success. It's going to be stratospheric and feel like overnight success. Okay. And what's really funny is that whole overnight success thing. You know, where preparation meets kind of opportunity, where actually you've been doing something for years. And then, of course, it's just overnight success. But yeah. So, yeah, that's right. I think, you know, exactly that. The whole 5-year plan and doing things in a certain way. This is about, the words have just come to me. This is about surrendering. This is about living a surrendered life. And I guess what I'm really modeling is just that. Is I'm really modeling right now, surrendering and completely walking in trust and having this big leap of faith with no safety net and acting as if. And that is what's probably going to be quite appealing about it, because now it's like, well, what is possible? What actually is possible if you surrender?
I love that. Thank you so much for coming to share your journey and that amazing wisdom that you shared. I appreciate it. And we look so forward to following you on your journey. Thank you so much, Andrea.
It might just be me in a car park like this.
Even if it is, we're still going to be cheering you on.
I'll be like pouring out my flask, hot tea in my flask, twiddling my thumbs, going, well, it's been a few days now. Hopefully something will shift soon.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think the universe is going to reward you for taking these steps.
Hey, well, let's hope so. I'm sure there'll be a few dragons along the route to slay.
And some more awesome stories. I can't wait to hear them.
Some more awesome stories. So, yeah.
Awkward conversation.
Yeah, thank you so. I've been so looking forward to this. It's been such a wonderful joy for me to share with you what its journey is, and watch this space. It'll be fascinating to see in a couple of months whether I do pay for my honey to come and join me in Thailand, or whether I'm just like limping back with a huge credit card debt going, I don't know what I'm going to do next. I don't want that one. Delete. I'm going to Thailand. I'm seeing like white sand and a beautiful sea and my honey drinking pina colada or something. I'm feeling really happy. Like he made the right decision. Like I want a happy honey.
Yeah.
I want a happy honey.
Well, that is my wish for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll talk soon.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.